Welcome, my people. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you this week? It's been a very, very crazy time out there. People telling me all kinds of stuff. They're afraid. They're afraid. The world, the government, what's going on, decisions that are made. So, in this world, it's really important to be independent. And what I'm saying is, you don't want anybody over your head. You don't want you know, I mean, sure, it's hard to escape that for a time, like having a landlord versus owning something, right? Even when you own something, there's a government body that's got a final say on what you do there. I have a friend who lives off the grid, and in the last, I don't know, 10 years or whatever, I've really educated myself in everything and anything you can think of when it comes to solar panel. You know, let's just say everything. What water, make electricity from water, air, and whatever, man. So, storage for it, you know, battery power. Power went out here ever since our local power company, upstate New York, local anyway, was sold to a Spanish company. They've downsized. They've fired people. They've closed offices. They've cut their trucks in half of what they used to have. So now, when you have a power outage or something relatively simple, it takes them an extraordinary amount of time. Before maybe a couple hours, now maybe 8 or 10 or 12. My power was out for 8 hours, but I have a power bank, a Jackery, I'll say. They don't they don't pay me to advertise, but it's what I have. I have that because I researched a lot of people, RV people, people that use it out in the open. You want people who use things, not to buy it, put it on the shelf, and say, "Yeah, it's good." You want people who go out there and say, "Hey, I've used this in the field and whatever." So I'll tell you, I have a huge computer set up here, big giant computer, another computer, my work computer, 50-watt each studio monitors because I really like to like music and whatever, or you want to hear something in stereo sound and big. It's got a lot of power and what it is anyway. Then I have like a weather station. Like I'm all set up. I mean, I was able to power all of this with my Jackery. It's 1000 V2, so it's got 1500 watts of electricity and peaks out at 3000. So I don't know. I powered it all for 8 hours. The power was off, and then I powered everything up. I have my own internet. I have a hotspot through Skyroam. Skyroam Solace. It's just it works really well and keeps me connected. It's got an electronic SIM card. It connects to any cell tower anywhere. I've used it booking across Utah at 80 miles an hour. Never lost connection, not once. You can hook up this one. You can hook up 10 devices. I know the newer one is 20 devices. So, but whatever, it works. That's what you want. It works. But it's like in this day and age, you have to stay connected. I was talking to one of my friends in Australia, and he's like, "It's crazy that you have to do all these things and just, you know, how unreliable systems are becoming. The power grid should never, ever, ever, no power company should ever be sold to a foreign national. No, none, nothing. It's a matter of national security, you know, and they're going to put profits over people like corporations do, and then the people suffer. So my sister just got power back last night. What the hell? It was off for more than 24 hours. For them. They have a generator. You have to have you know something backing you up. That's what these power banks are basically. They're solar generators. You put solar panels, you can plug into them, and then recharge that way. So, but depends on what your power needs are. It's kind of funny once you're counting the watts, you realize what you need and what you don't need, and it's kind of like water. If you're out in the field and you're running water, let's say you have a vehicle and you have a 100-gallon tank of fresh water, right? That's all you got until you refill it. It's not like a house tap that you just turn it on. So people don't tend to realize, like, the ones you just turn it on and let it run, let it run, let it run, how much water, gallons of water you're letting go down there. So it's good to be conscious of what you consume, what you need versus what you're wasting. And if you're self-sufficient, and let's say that I know a lot of people who are ditching their homes and they're moving into RVs and they're headed out to out west, greener pastures. It's not just one or two people. I know a lot, and I don't know a lot of people. Like, I don't hang out with a lot of people, but this is their plan. And I myself have been researching it also because New York State is becoming it's just a very unfriendly state now. Unfriendly to taxpayers. They don't appreciate us. They just waste our money on stuff that like, how dare they, and I realized that the taxes I pay in New York would pay 6 months worth of a mortgage on a nice house in another state that doesn't have state income tax. So you have to make right choices for yourself, and you have to be happy. I know when I was in Colorado, I was only there for a short time, but man, people are so friendly and so just so genuinely nice, you know, and just a fun place to be. My body felt good there. I felt good there, and then you just make decisions for yourself, of where you want to be and what you want to do, and you go and do it. I feel like the East Coast is has become a very dangerous place. Dangerous for a lot of reasons, but I feel in my heart that there are things coming that we're not going to be able to manage if we're in the middle of it, you know. And then for a lot of years now, I've just had the urge to go up above 3,000 feet. It's just kind of funny that 3,000 is kind of the number. I don't know why, but all of these urges I've had in the past have all kind of exactly worked out and bottomed out to where I suspected that they would be. So there's no reason for me to doubt my gut feeling and reaction. So, but it's fine. You've got to just kind of be ready. And the world has got on the surface. You would think that right now the world, things can get better, but there's a thing going on, and it's out of control. Meaning, you can't get control of it. Have you ever been out of control, like in a vehicle, a boat, or whatever the hell you're doing? Like, out of control, right? And you really feel like, oh my god, I can't get this vehicle in because, like, going off a cliff type of, you're nowhere. It's out of control. No, I mean, like, even in your life, like out of control where you can't get control of stuff. I've never been out of control in my life where I couldn't get control of my life. Things I've done, I've made conscious decisions to do. So it wasn't like something that just happened. It just happened, right? I like to experience life. I always have, because that's what it is. What the hell else is it? You're gonna suffer? We're gonna talk about Samaria in a moment. I'm building up to suffering, and what humans were made for, what humans were used for, and what we've evolved into now, what we are now. So I talk to people about happiness, right? What will make you happy? That's the question. What will make you happy? And I mean like you don't have to be happy, but it's nice to be content. Con- Contentedness, you know? So the world to me, you've got this media megalomania going on. To me, it's just a blur of shit. It's just a blur. It's just a big ball of blur. It's not anything I want to focus on. I like the quieter moments, and I mean quieter. I could be blasting ACDC. It's still a quiet moment to me. I could be rocking out on a guitar, bass, or whatever the hell I feel like, and then that's the moments when I've been happiest. I realized because I put on a bunch of weight that my mom died. I crashed and burned, and I admit it freely. You know, once you lose that most important person in your life, you realize a lot of stuff, man. But now I'm on the right path, you know, and I'm back fully into things I used to be into, martial arts and whatever. I do my sword practice and that type of thing. You know, lifting weights and that and whatever. Heavy bag. Nothing better than hitting a heavy bag, bare hand. You know what I mean? Just rocking it, man. Boom. Speed bag is fun. Great for timing. I like the sound. You know, it's nice. Martial arts speed bag, which is kind of a ball on on a bungee basically, and you bob and weave and get back and forth. It's good, man. It's good for you. Anyway, and I used to love making music. I mean, there was times I hung out at a rehearsal studio, and after all the bands came and went, sometimes the members of the bands would kind of lag behind because we were all friends and we hang out, go into the big room, the A room, and just rock out, man, all night long until the sun came up. Till after, you know, those are the moments that you need. You know, if that's not your bag, you got to find something that you can. I mean, I'm reflecting on it as a good memory. It wasn't anything negative. There's plenty of negative out there, but Why would you want to encounter it? You know, because the people that do that have a problem. The people that want to make your life a living hell for whatever the joy they get out of it, narcissism and that type of thing. Psychopathic narcissists, you know, they're out there. They're out there, and you never know when you're going to run across one. It's like a minefield that you're going to run into people when you're out there. Young guys, man, you're out there dating. You know, women now or the young girls have that whole internet thing, that social media thing. They're all the same. They're all a bunch of robots. They make the same faces. They do the same move. This and that, and whatever. You know, you want the person who's not out there doing that. You know, the one who enjoys other aspects of life. There's nothing wrong with being online. There's nothing wrong with communicating with people. I have friends around the world that I would have never had, you know, if it wasn't for the internet. These are now my dear friends. You know, great people, privileged to know them, type of situation. So, but the internet, for a lot of people, for young people especially, who are mentally developing, has become a hole in the ground, and they're getting sucked into it. They get in there, they can't get out of there. They're judging themselves on it. They're judging each other on it. You know, it's it's Kathy Griffin. It's Kathy Griffin. You know, I was reading this article about Kathy Griffin. It's actually an article about. I'm gonna put it up, man. I'm gonna put it up on the screen for you. And it just goes. I'm not a fan of hers. I don't know what I'm a fan of. I don't think I'm a fan of anything. I'm a fan of right versus wrong, and I'm not saying I've done the right thing all along either, man. I mean, we're here, we're here to sin, and it. And what someone told me, we're here to sin. But Kathy Griffin, right? Now look at the headline, and this is Yahoo Entertainment, but they got the story from another whatever, the Blast, right? Blast, which is a very liberal publication, right? Kathy Griffin, frightening look has fans claiming they found Pennywise. Look at her. So remember when she was so called protesting Trump, and she took cut his head off and was carrying it around, and just really weird. I mean, she's supposed to be a comedian. There was no comedic value in that at all, but some people have that Trump derangement syndrome, and they really hate him from their hearts. And I don't even think they know ultimately why they hate him, but they do. But she, there's an old saying, right? God doesn't like ugly. So, and I'm not claiming I'm a beauty queen, so don't get on me about that. I'm saying how you act, how you are, the things that you do, because you are what you do. She has never recovered from that. She used to be on with Anderson Cooper on CNN for New Year's Eve. That was a big gig for her, high paying gig, a lot of exposure. I never found her to be funny. I like a great comedian. I do. I love Dave Chappelle. I think he's probably maybe the funniest guy on the planet. I mean, honestly speaking. Other comedian Chris Rock back in the day used to be amazing. I think he's lost it completely, but you know, uh, sometimes that happens with talent. Sometimes that happens. He's a great actor. He's done other things, but I'm saying the fire that he had for the comedy he was doing, I don't think that fire is burning anymore. But and there's a lot of other comedians, that are up and coming, that are good. You go to a comedy club, you never know who you're gonna like and whatever. It depends on who you identify with. But this Pennywise, they're saying, got the painted eyebrows on there. Pennywise, there's something going on there. You know, it's like murderers. I'm not saying she ever killed anybody. She doesn't have it in her eyes. When people murder someone, their faces change, their eyes change. There's things about them that completely change. You can go through all these murderers before and after and just look at them and look at their eyes. There's a thing to that. So this was Kathy Griffin. Look at her doing her thing. I don't know. That's there a long time ago. You know, they don't know how. They don't have a Pennywise. Oh my god! Do you think she regrets what she did about Trump's head? That ain't Kathy Griffin, that's for sure. 80s supermodel, 62, is full of natural beauty and stunning 4th of July photo. That's This is what she looks like. Hey, 62? That's pretty cute, 62. You know what I mean? That's cute for 62. Why not? So, I'm almost there myself. You know what I mean? So, how you live your life and how you allow things to affect you is going to dictate your health and everything about you. So our perception of things that happen is the entering point to our brain. How we receive it, see it, hear it, feel it. You ever have memories that popped up, good or bad, where you actually start smelling things or feeling things, or you smell something that kind of brings you back to that point and puts you right there? Our memory has all of that up in there, right? Can Could be your olfactory, it could be anything, auditory, could be kinesthetic, something that you experience that brings you back. So when you have an experience and how you perceive it and understand it is very important to how you store it in your brain. You know, it's like a police report. You ever fill out a police report? I've done a few. So it's the most important thing. Believe it or not, the lawyers, the judges, and whatever can come after, whatever happens, the most important thing is to make sure that police report says the right thing. As a I tell people that all the time. People ask me about, whatever. And if they don't write it down, because they're going to write stuff down, you want to stand over them when they do and make sure that every line is exactly true and right to the situation. And you want to make sure, when they say, here, read this, because the cop is going to say, here, read this, make sure it's all correct. If there's anything wrong, tell me. I mean, they're very honest about it. It's part of their job. Right? So you read the thing, you make sure it's the exact story. You got to think about this. When you're reading that report, when they're making the report, imagine yourself in court explaining yourself. When you go into a judge and you say to him, I don't know how those bodies got in my shed, Judge. I never used it. You lived there for a year and you've never opened your shed, boy? No, I'm from Long Island. We don't know about sheds on Long Island. We know about garages. Shed is lost on me, dude. I don't know how those bodies got into the trunk. It's a rent-a-car. I never looked in the trunk. It didn't dawn on me to look in the trunk. Why would I look in my shed? I don't know. I'm not looking for anything. Why would I open it up? Am I curious to see what's in the shed? No. I don't have that kind of depthitude to say, because I'm sitting there looking at the shed thinking, I've lived here for a long time, like a year, and I've never looked in the shed. I don't know what's in there. I don't know. There could be. I don't know. What judges look at you that look, they know, they know. They know that you know that they know that you know. They want to know what's in your shed. So, look in the shed. That's all I'm saying. And the same thing for everything and anything and anything and anything. Know what the hell you get yourself into. Know who the hell you're hanging out with. Know what path it's going to take you on. Try to have some insight on the future as you're digging your teeth in. Try to understand that there's people out there that would do you wrong, and they're happy to do it to use you, abuse you, and do whatever, right? Because they themselves have a ton of problems that you can't do anything about because it's beyond your power. There's an old saying, Taoist, Lao Tzu said, you can't exact somebody else's due. Right? They've got to do it for themselves. They've got to do it for themselves. So, but you need to stay away from the blast. You need to stay away from that negativity, and you have to fight fiercely. I used to resent it when I was young. And when I was young, I was an abused kid. Nobody was there for my mom and I. You know, nobody. We didn't have any safety, security, sanctity. She was single working mom supporting two kids. She didn't claim any kind of bullcrap thing, and she can't work and can't do this and whatever. You know, straight up real person, right? And the strongest woman I've ever known in my life, and I've known a lot of people. So, but when you get to a certain point, you realize that Sometimes you got to fight like a lion to live like a lamb. Sometimes you have to get into that fight. Sometimes you got to take that step and not be afraid of the evil that you're facing, because that evil has no strength against you if you stand up to it, and then it understands that you're not going to let it get away with what it wants to get away, and then you strike it down. And there's a lot of help out there for you to do that, right? But we're people, we're humans, we're just plain old people, right? So Samaria, what people call the first religion, it's not really, but it kind of is, in writing in any way. And I want to kind of just skip to the stories are great. The sky father, the earth mother, because the sky is between heaven and earth, and then they all told the same tale of these beings that came down from above, and they were the ones who were in control. And those were those were the kings and queens of wherever. If you want to go by the story of the planet Nairobi, who has a 3,000 year orbit around the sun, so we don't see the planet. 3,000 years, no one's seen it yet, which is kind of interesting. So could have been destroyed. Anything could happen, right? Even if it existed. So, but the story is not as important as the evidence to the story, the scientific background of the sky god creating the universe and all the stuff clumping together because of gravity and whatever. Really cool stories for a culture that's thousands and thousands and thousands of years old. And then, so it was with these sky gods, it was the An, the U, and then the Ki. The Anunnaki, right? They became the Anunnaki. You probably know that name because the Anunnaki has been connected to a lot of sci-fi, space type of stuff. But the Anunnaki was very big in Babylon, very big in Samaria, other cultures too. Talk much about the Anunnaki, and then the Anunnaki basically they're on all these sky gods and whatever. The ones who were under them were on a quest for gold. The story was that they needed the gold to purify the air and the planet that they came from. Okay, so they're on a quest for gold. Then they created beings, slaves, to do that task. And then they realized they didn't want to do it. And then they created another sub being, which would have been humans, to do the task and all the work. And then they assigned the work to it, the humans, and mine the gold, mine the gold, mine the gold, and that type of thing. And that was why humans were created, and it has a lot of really, it's got a lot of interesting tales. It's got the tales of three, okay, which is like the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, and all that. Same thing for Sumeria, whatever you want to call it. You know, same type of thing. So you know what? I even have a little presentation, so I don't know why I'm sitting here with my ugly face on, but I can be showing some cool stuff to you guys. And then let me get. I'm gonna leave that in there just for a laugh. Okay, so here we go. All right, you know what? We're rocking, man. So this is one of their gods, and this is one of their deities, I guess, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, it's not the god, it's not the creator, you know. But they said the sky god is the creator of this universe, but there's multi universes, right? I mean, there's It's unfathomable to really, you can't even quantify how many universes there are out there because we don't know. There's more than one. We'll say that, right? But this little creature here has been seen all over the world in cultures. It's been seen in Bolivia, right? Puma Punku, and Puma Punku is related, as they say, to the Anunnaki. So how the Anunnaki go from Bolivia to Samaria, I mean, Samaria is really where Iraq. I think I got a map somewhere. Look at this guy. He's got his thing going. I like the little sculptures, and look at this, man. This is fascinating. This is their artwork. This is where am I? Here I am. This, if you look at it, is that double helix, and you see it in medicine. You see it a lot. It's actually a description of DNA. This is a DNA ladder. This is what you're looking at, and this is something that they knew very well in their culture. Egyptians too. They all knew what DNA was. How the hell does that happen? Huh? I mean, look at that. Is that just incredible? I think it's incredible that, and this is not the only place you see this type of thing. So what do we got next? Oh my God! In ancient Samaria, there's this guy called the Puff 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 guy with Tootsie Roll. The Tootsie Roll. I left that in there on purpose just to laugh about it. And this is kind of a description of the big people, the small people, and how they kind of viewed others and their perception. But here we go. Ancient Samaria, right? So here you have Arabia, you got Elam, all the Euphrates River going through there, that. So this is kind of like Iran, you know what I mean? I mean, Libya, all of that. And you got Babylon, gonna go down to Babylon for some mead and whatever they got. Some tequila, a little big and big. Gonna go hang out on the boulevard, hang out on the Euphrates, man. With Cleopatra to float by. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, but really. All right, so that's the general area. I just want to give you the idea of the area that we're talking about. From there to Puma Punku in Bolivia, right? On the other side of the planet, really, really pretty damn far. So, as an investigator, me personally, I love information and I love poking around information and I love putting together timelines and assembling things, and also I'm very good at finding codes and things like that, but especially making comparisons and then saying what all these things have in common. What's the common denominator in all of these things? You know, every story has a meaning in the center of it. Even the ones that were greatly embellished, because you have that too. But every culture talks about these creatures, whatever they were, coming down from the sky, being in control of stuff, and they were giants, and they had really an uncaring way about them. They weren't like saying, "Oh, humans, we have to shepherd them and whatever." More like make these slaves, and they gotta do what they gotta do. And then in the story of Samaria, the humans rebelled, and then they were whipped and beaten and into submission, and then they rebelled again in the gold mines. They didn't want to give the gold out. They were doing whatever they could, so they made a deal, right? And then mysteriously, these gods left. They took off. They're gone. Don't know what happened to them. Nobody knows what happened to them. They just were gone. Much like Pumapunku, because in Pumapunku, the same thing. That you had some kind of entity there that one didn't want to be around the normal population of people because they're 12,000 feet up in the mountains. You know, not easy to breathe up there all that well, 12,000 feet. Not easy to live up there. It's well above the tree line for trees, vegetation, or whatever. So whatever was there could self sustain. And it needed only slaves, which they had. So Puma Punku had about 40,000 people, they say, they think, right? But they don't know why or what or how or whatever. They just know that it was there, and then they share the same drawings, the same thing as halfway around the world. So when I was researching Native American culture, they all tell the same story differently, right? So the Hopi Indians say the ant people came and got them before the world turned bad, before because out west at that time it was green and plush and whatever. One time there was all kinds of dinosaurs out there and whatever. This is the west of America, right? Out west, Nevada, Arizona, Utah. You can look at those places now. Like obviously something drastic happened to turn it into what it is now, dry, arid, whatever. So the Hopi told the Ant people. The Navajos say the Star people. The Star people came down. They all got taken. Some believe they were taken underground. Some believe that they were just taken to a place, and then that was what, like the Navajo, referred to as the third world, and they emerged into the fourth world. The fourth world was this dry, arid, whatever. So whatever happened within that time frame, and these stories go back. I mean, the Fremont Indians and whatever, the Navajo. I know a Navajo historian, Wally Brown. He's on YouTube. You watch his videos. He's awesome. Uh, Talks about the stories of his people, the Denai and all that, the holy ones and all who came from the east. They said across great rivers or whatever, going back 75,000 years ago, around. I think 75,000 years ago. So whatever happened, there was a great flood. We know that. We know from if you look at the United States, how things had formed. With the mountains on both sides and whatever, and that type of thing, and the Great Plains, the Mississippi River, that type of thing, right? So let's say these Native Americans are all carted off together, separately but together, compartmentalized, took off. They all seem to have landed in the same place, which was in Moab. And I had to trace this down. I actually systematically went through maps and looking at Google Maps, aerial photos, looking at things, just looking at things. Moab is the only place that's got the markings of all the tribes, basically, right? So there's one particular Navajo symbol of a circle going out. I'm gonna find it. I got more of this. For these guys, these are the gods. These three. They're a trifecta for Mesopotamia. Yeah. Look at that. It's interesting, eh? And this is some giant. This is one of the gods. You know, and you know that. You know, they know their face because they hated them so much because they were slaves. You know what I mean? Like they know that they weren't there to worship these gods. They were just being controlled. Again, look at. I mean, come on, look at this. Look at this. This DNA. They knew something more than the slaves that they created. Samaria right here, very very Egyptian-esque type of thing going on. Yeah. What is this? Major gods and goddesses: Utu, Samish, god of the sun, lord of truth and justice, symbolized by the sun's rays. Cities of dedication in Larsa and Sipar. Look at that. Puma Punku. Around the world. Puma Punku. Bolivia. Anunnaki. Same. Right? And then, of course, Jaws. When shows collide. But again, this bird, the bird creature. Let me put in. All right. Right. So this Navajo symbol. Let me get it up here for you. What the hell is it? Okay. Looking for it. It's a very, very, very old symbol. And basically, it's a circle going from the inside out. And yeah, I can't even find it because it's a very, 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 very old symbol. It's a spiral, you know. Yeah, I can't. How is it? That's not the one. So, what I thought was interesting about it, anyway. Let me see if I can find it. You would think it would be right there. Here it is. Okay. All right. Let me get this up on the screen for y'all. Yeah. All right. Get this off the screen. And I'm going to put this on. This symbol right here, the spiral going out. So Wally Brown will say that the Deny told the people, wherever you travel, first of all, they told them to spiral out from that point on. This is how I found them at Moab, because I spiraled back in again to where all these symbols have been found in the whole region. They said spiral out, and you go out further and further and further, and keep your tribes there and whatever, and populate these new places, right? And the aliens, I'm going to call them aliens because that's what they sound like to me, the star people, ant people, whatever you want to call them, told the Indian nations that they needed a place where they could gather and have a dialogue, like a Congress, people getting together and discussing, the future and whatever and what they're going to do. One of the Hopi chiefs said that the ant people took him into some kind of shit. He said boat. He said boat, but it was up in the air. It was a sky boat, and took him into the future. And the chief said he saw highways, like he didn't say highways. He said rivers of gray, all around. He took him into the future. We have similar stories with the Prophet Muhammad, who was visited by the Archangel Gabriel and among others, and taken into the future, taken out into space, shown other civilizations. There was a lot of depth to that. So anyway, this very same symbol was also found in Turkey. So from Moab, Utah to Turkey. And they found them in other places around the world. And they all attribute them to being that Navajo symbol, right? So I think that it's important to understand people and people and what they do and why, and the stories and where stories came from and why, you know. So Chaco Canyon is where they all went in New Mexico to have their meeting of cultures, right? Chaco Canyon, but it became polluted, not in the way of nature. It became polluted in the way of politics, and then there were others. They weren't Indians. They were called the others. You know, they came to Chaco Canyon, and they had slaves. They hurt people. They did terrible things, and then that's why they called them the others. They weren't all Native Americans. They were somebody else. They don't know who. I mean, there's Aztec pyramids they found there, and all types of things. So who knows? But they were the ones who built tall walls. Initially, anthropologists thought those walls were built to keep people out, but they were actually built to keep people in. You know, so yeah, Anastasi, that was the name of the Indians. They're not. It doesn't mean Indian. It means the other people. Now think about Chaco Canyon. If you look at the pictures of Chaco Canyon, I want to bring them up. I want to show you some pictures of Chaco Canyon. Well, you'll see the pictures. Show you the Chaco Canyon. Here we go. There we go. Chaco Canyon. So, I'm just going to share the whole stinking page with you. Okay. All right. Let me get these. Chaco Canyon. Notice how round it is. It almost looks like a UFO could land there, and it would be perfectly okay. You look at all the little vents, those little holes, and this is interesting. I mean, if you look at the whole development of that place, it seems like something should fit in there. There was no real reason. It's not like even an amphitheater or something. So there was no real reason for these holes. These. It's just to me very striking that, man, if you did have a disc, you could land it there pretty happily, joyfully. I don't know. So it became perverted, and then it changed over the years. But not far from there is Shiprock, and I had driven up there. I had a friend who lived in Farmington at the time. This is before the internet. This is back in 1990 is when I cruised up there. And there was a highway called Highway 666. And I say, dude, it's the middle of nowhere. It is the middle of nowhere, right? So my friend told me the story about his friend. He worked for an oil company, and his father, the friend's father, was in his truck, big dually pickup truck, going from Farmington down to Gallup, New Mexico, which is a little cruise. It's a cruise, pretty good sized cruise. I did it. And then I'll share this with you. You get the weirdest feeling driving through there. The weirdest feeling. Not like any normal feeling. It's the weirdest feeling. So the father, he's driving down. It's nighttime. He's going down to Gallup, right? You have to go through Shiprock to get down to Gallup from Farmington. It's just the way it is. So he's driving 65, 70 miles an hour, or whatever it was, he said. And he had sensed something off. He looks next to him out the window, and there's something running next to him with like the face of a dog and glowing eyes, and but with a human body. It's beating on the truck door now. Boom, 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 trying to get it, clawing at it, clawing at the paint, the window. This dude, like, whoa, he said he even had a rifle mounted, on the back window type of thing. And he didn't even think about even stopping or doing nothing. He just hit the gas. And he went faster and faster. And he said he finally was able to drive away from it. And when you hear these stories, you wonder, yeah, this guy, maybe the guy's drunk or whatever. Nope, doesn't drink. Christian conservative type. He had to wrap his head around even what happened. So then he gets down to Gallup because there's really not much of a place to stop. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you exactly where it is. Pull out my map. The internet, you gotta love it, man. It's got good stuff, bad stuff. Oh shoot, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. There we go. The internet. All right, so here we are. This is upstate New York. Let me go out to New Mexico. New Mexico. Chihuahua. I don't want too far. All right, there we go. Mexico. Hold on. Where am I? El Paso. Nope. I'm gonna go up, over. Hold on. It's beautiful country out there. If you've ever driven out there. All right. You know what I gotta do? I'm going to do that. I don't know why that's up there either. All right, here we go. That's the right one. All right, so let me bring this up for you. All right, let's see. It's Albuquerque. So you want to go west. And Gallup is kind of like, I keep blasting past it. Okay, here we go. Missouri. The hell am I? And because these guys were in Farmington, which is, where is it? It's up over there. This is Shiprock. Shiprock is here. So Farmington's going to be over this way. Right? Farmington's there. That's it. So this guy's cruising. He's making his way to here. And when I went out there years ago where this all happened, Shiprock was just the Shiprock. There's a rock that looks like a ship, right? All this area here, they do mining for uranium. You know, how much time do we have? We don't have too much more time. So anyway, a lot of this stuff was never even there. They built these communities, shiprock airstrip. So let me do this right. This is what it looks like there. That is what it looks like there. That's what the whole thing. Now it's called US 491. It used to be Route 666, and they changed it. But this is the whole cruise down to Gallup. You're just cruising on this road, middle of freaking nowhere, man. I mean, it really is. You know, flat. So imagine this guy cruising this road and having this thing run up on him in the middle of the night that he doesn't know what the hell is going on, you know. And he had to cruise all the way down to Gallup. When I went up there was only one little place to stop and get like if it was open, get food or whatever. Is it Ace Hardware? It might be that might even be the place, man. I don't know why that's even there. Ace Hardware is not even a business there. There was one little place, Port of Entry. I don't know why it's all the way up there. All the way up there. But he had to drive all the hell the way down to Gallup. And it's a ways, man. I mean, and you're on the reservation the entire time doing this. You know, reservations have totally different rules too. You know what I mean? Different rules, different everything. You know, so anyway. You gotta be real careful and just be cool. You know, they want to mouth off to anybody over there. Look, there's a freaking volcano. Look at that. Volcanic plug. That's what these are. They're plugs from the volcano years ago. And the plugs used to be, 30 feet in the sky. But because of erosion and time and whatever, and then you go all the way down. Maybe it was the Speedway. Yeah, I think this is the place. This was the only place I had to use a payphone. It was before cell phones. That's the only place that was like on this whole route, you know. And you go all the way down. I don't know. Keep going. So, and it was just a weird. Here's Gallup here. So, it was just a weird kind of place, you know. Good old Gallup, New Mexico. Right there. I like to stay at the La Quinta. That's there. Nice place, man. So anyway, so imagine that. You're cruising, man. Really in the middle of freaking nowhere. From there, from Shiprock all the way down to Gallup. And you get this thing running next to you. So then, I start researching it, and I'm really like, skinwalkers. People are talking about skinwalker. Think of the skinwalker is real. And that's what they said that was chasing the guy down was a skinwalker. And that they have to sacrifice something that's close to them, family members usually, that kind of crazy stuff. And then they can become this animal and have these superpowers and whatever. And they're supposed to be really dark witches. There's Navajo online forums where they freely talk about skinwalkers, UFOs, all the stuff that they see. Very, very, very common to experience these things, But so how do you think, I'm going to have to end the show, but how do you think these symbols end up around the world, And by the way, they say that our human lust for gold is because we were trained to mine gold, and gold was all of our part of our lives, and then we're on a quest to get back more gold. Gold is nice. I'm not going to say it's not. It's fun to wear, fun like the way it feels. Like I love gold, man, Not like any other metal. Gold, right? That makes you think, whatever, but humans are the only creatures on the planet that strive to do better. Not everybody, of course, but mainly the ones who have any kind of drive and gumption want to be more than what they are. and you get that through talents and through learning, and then through also kindness and compassion and things like that, right? You want to go forward in life. But all of these ancient cultures tell the same roundabout tale. It doesn't matter who. And then we found these symbols all around the world. Couldn't possibly, Native Americans gonna go over to Turkey, right? Or people in Turkey showing up, in the American West. So interesting stuff to ponder, interesting stuff to think about. Try to think about that when you navigate your own life and your daily survival, and you realize that your existence is up to you and what you make out of your life and what you do with it. So I'm going to end the show there on a high note, I guess, right there. I'll see you guys next week on this here show. And don't forget UFO Undercover every Wednesday night. You don't forget News on the Flip Side, 10 p.m. Eastern every Friday. And then the chat about 7:30 p.m. every Saturday. And then after the chat, Michael Angley Live. So whenever the chat happens, what we do. So I'll see you guys next week on this issue. Bye bye.